On this episode of System Integrators Weekly, I'll quickly give my thoughts on the Gamers Nexus LTT issue, and then we'll move on to what you're really here for, talking about some pre-built PC deals. All that and more on this episode of SI Weekly. Let's go, nerds! Hello everyone, I'm Brea Thorne. Welcome to SI Weekly. And as you can tell, I am conflicted. Now, if you haven't been watching, Gamers Nexus posted a video last Monday going over the myriad issues going on over at Linus Tech Tips. And in their video, they did not monetize or have a sponsor. And LTT posted a response video shortly after, well, not shortly after, it took a little time. But they also did not have a sponsor in that video. Though they did monetize it at first, which was kind of oof. But they did change that after hearing, whatever. We're not as large as either Gamers Nexus or Linus Tech Tips, that's for sure. And I do have to pay the bills around here. So I do have a sponsor for this video, and that is VIP CDK Deals. The best place to go when you want to get yourself an OEM Windows license to get rid of that annoying watermark and unlock all the customization Windows has to offer. So instead of paying well over $100 for a retail version of Windows, you can get an OEM key for a fraction of the price. Plus, you can use my code BRAE25 to get a nice fat discount off of the already discounted price. Keep in mind that this is an OEM key that gets attached to this system and cannot be used with another one or if you change your hardware. Make sure you get the right key for your operating system. For more information on how to use CDK Deals, click the link in the description saying here's how it works, and I'll walk you through the whole thing. Thank you, CDK Deals, for continuing to support the channel. Now, back to the matter at hand. So Gamers Nexus had some pretty scathing criticism for Linus Tech Tips and Linus Media Group in general, where Steve listed out the many ways in which LMG's breakneck pace for producing content has led to many errors in a lot of their videos. And he went into detail, like Steve does. Obviously, I'm a fan. I like the shirt. This is the one that has the, microphone, the just random blue sleeve on it, just on one side. It's awesome. I've been a fan of Steve's and the whole team over there at GN for a long time now. Even when I had disagreed with some of their methodologies. I have a whole video where I was talking about how I don't agree with the way that they review pre-built PCs. The Skytech stuff aside, and their pre-built reviews aside, I'm a big fan of the modus operandi and standard operating procedures of Gamers Nexus, the way they do things. If I want to get the most accurate information possible, I go to them, Hardware Unboxed, I go to the really in-depth testers out there. And I've known for a while that that's not really LTT. Regardless of them starting up LTT labs, we see a lot of corrections and stuff and asterisks at the bottom of the videos, things like that. I've had to do that myself. I never script anything, I never use a teleprompter, so I'll make an error. I might say something like, I believe it's this, and then correct it in the bottom or whatever. We all make mistakes, as Steve said. But the problems went beyond the mistakes that happen in some of the numbers and everything. Although there was that big oof where there was a video of a member of LTT Labs saying that they are superior to other outlets because they retest everything, when honestly a lot of the bigger testers out there do retest stuff for every product launch and stuff like that. Regardless, the other issues that arose were with Billet Labs. I'm in 100% in agreement that was, regardless of what led to it, the entire result of it is skeezy as hell. They took a prototype, did a terrible job reviewing it. I mean, it's like they've never done a review of something before. Like, test it with the thing it's supposed to be tested with. Give it a fair shot. Don't disparage a startup because you can't be bothered to spend an extra $500 on retesting when there's clearly a problem. That's what your money is for. Your production budget is for producing good content, not whatever you actually care about. It's for consumers. Like, you have a responsibility to over 15.4 million subscribers to spend that $500 on producing the right content. So not only did they review the product poorly, they did a bad job and say, you should not buy this. It's a prototype. They can't buy it. They're developing something. They want to share it with you. Billet Labs requested the prototype back they needed for R&D. They were promised multiple times by LTT that they'd get it back, and they never sent it back. And in fact, through a miscommunication, as was stated in Linus's ill-fated forum post. It was auctioned off for charity. And Linus's response to Steve saying that they sold it was to say, oh, it wasn't sold, it was auctioned off for charity. Linus, this is why, like, public statements like that, like, I love you, dude. You've been a huge influence on me. And it was great talking to you for 3.5 seconds at LTX, okay? But you gotta run this by somebody who's not emotionally invested in the situation, who can look at things objectively. You don't need me to tell you that now. I'm pretty sure you're gonna maybe change the way you do things. One should hope. We are creatures of change. You know, there's a whole thing about how Linus didn't really reach out to them until the Gamers Nexus video came out and tell them, oh, hey, oops, whoops, oof, we did a bad. And that sucks. But they did, regardless of the timeline, they did agree to pay whatever the cost of the thing was. But the problem is you can't cover opportunity cost. Time lost, not only with the months that the part was over at LTT, but also the time to fab a new prototype. I saw that Jay's 2 cents reached, was asking on Twitter, like, hey, does anyone have a contact info for Billet Labs? I'd like to, I'm interested now. That's cool. Jay does that, like the whole Artesian Builds thing. He took care of Pia when she couldn't get a PC. He built one for her himself. Jay he's a swoop in and do cool stuff kind of guy. And so that's why, as I mentioned earlier, I'm so excited to share my interview with him, and I just hadn't been able to yet. So that's the whole Billet Labs thing. That's, I guess, kind of resolved, and they're gonna send Billet Labs whatever amount of money. They accidentally published how much it was in their apology video, because yeah, they put out the YouTuber apology video, and it had everybody in it. And it was also a little bit of a not reading the room kind of situation, because they monetized that video. They didn't have a sponsor, but they monetized it at first. And then at least we know now that they're really listening to people, because when the community was like, yo, why would you monetize this? That's the whole problem and blah, blah, blah. And it was very legitimate blah, blah, blahs, to be clear. And they turned off monetization. But it sort of tells you, and tells them, more importantly, that they've had their priorities a little mixed up for a very long time. And though most people go to LTT now for entertainment value and Gamers Nexus for hard data, I'm pretty sure both parties are happy with that, they opened LTT Labs. And there's intention behind that, to shift to more technical content, consumer information, and tech journalism. That's a big task. That's a huge shift in things for LTT. And while they have been, they're very experienced at testing, a rush job is a rush job, no matter how you slice it. Now, the Billet Labs thing wasn't it. It wasn't the whole deal, okay? After all that came out, Madison Reed, a former employee of Linus Media Group, came out with some rather shocking things that she'd been holding back. And with everything being sort of covered by Gamers Nexus, I suppose that she felt it was a safe time to do that, and rightfully so. People were ready to listen when it comes to issues with LTT, more so than ever. And this was kind of shocking for me. I thought Madison was I still think Madison is awesome. Still follow her on Twitter, X, whatever. And she's hilarious. She got onto the Asus PC upgrade video by posting her own video, which was hilarious, and just from sheer force of personality won over the entire community. Most of them anyway. I don't know if there were any detractors, but the whole community was like, yo, hire this person, put her on camera, this person's awesome. And so LTT was like, yeah, we have hired her. Linus said that, and they hadn't yet. She hadn't signed a contract or looked at any kind of agreed to a salary or anything. She did afterwards, obviously. That's like a dream job, but apparently it was not a dream after all, and it went very poorly. Madison was very forthcoming now with how toxic the work environment was, and the sort of everyday, hustle, get it done kind of attitude over there. And that wasn't all, but I do want to mention one thing. As someone who's worked in both the managerial positions and supervisory positions, and I've been a sysadmin, but I've also been the guy running the lines. All right, I've done it all. One of the quickest ways to let your employees know that you do not care about their well-being in any way is with 4 words: just get it done. Okay? If an employer ever tells you that, get the hell out of there. And if you're an employer and you've ever said that, you need to reassess whether you belong in that job or not. Because your employees should be one of your first priorities. Always. Nothing works without the people who make things work. And this person, Madison, was put in charge of so much stuff that currently there's like 4 or 5 people doing the things that were all piled onto her unfairly. And then talked about some verbal abuse that was there, name calling, and also sexual harassment. Freaking sexual harassment. I cannot believe that someone got through the hiring process at LTT and persisted there when they're the type of person that would do that kind of thing. And apparently the internal processes over at LMG were not enough to catch this person or punish them or do anything about it other than continue to encourage Madison to pick up the pace with her work. Just put on her big girl pants was one of the quotes. That's very sexist. That is extremely sexist. Okay? So, and demeaning. I mean, it's dehumanizing. Now LTT has responded by saying, we're going to hire an outside investigator to come in and sort of investigate the situation. We're going to reevaluate our processes for dealing with these things, and we encourage all of our employees to come forward with any kind of experiences you may have had in this vein. That's just paraphrasing. It's not a quote or anything. I hope that all works out, and I hope they do find the person who did this, because they're probably still doing similar things to interns and other employees who are too afraid to come forward. And I do have a message to that person. Okay, now this is the new stubby screwdriver, right? At LTTstore.com. You're welcome, Nick. Okay. If you purchase the hex bits, you can get yourself the 1/4 inch. Okay, I should probably put that bit back. You don't want to lose these. Okay, these are special bits. Just hi. Okay, these are special bits just for the screwdriver. You don't want to lose these, but you can get replacements. So you take your 1/4 inch bit, put that right there in the stubby. Okay, this is actually a really useful bit for certain things. And then you can get yourself another screwdriver. If you're at LTX and you got a custom one, that's a great candidate. If you have the standard one, no problem. So you go ahead and fit that. Look at that, it fits right in there. Take these two and go screw yourself for eternity, you absolute piece of garbage. Linus Media Group and Linus Tech Tips in general and all the channels they're in, it's a huge machine and it has momentum. It's gonna keep moving forward. There will be some people who leave and unsubscribe and make very loudly, by the way, I've unsubscribed from all of your channels, says subscriber number 15.423 million. Guys, it's better to watch what they do about it than to just jump ship, okay? That's my message there. Let's do that. Now, one of my favorite people over at LMG is Nick. Nick is awesome. He's in charge of a lot of the product releases, things like that. But he threw in an LTTstore.com comment. Nick, you're awesome. And I'm not sure if you wrote the script yourself or was written for you, but it did not need to be said. The WAN show was skipped on Friday, even though the feeling is we have to do the WAN show. I mean, they've gone to great lengths to keep the streak going. The streak is over now. Over after a long time. This whole thing happened because of self-imposed things, right? Self-imposed things that you do, memes in every video. Clever segues to the sponsor, which was done twice as a joke in a video where there probably should not have been any jokes, if you know what I mean. I think the main thing that LTT and LMG need to look at is sort of the self-imposed things that they've set up for themselves that have painted them into a corner. And we know Linus loves paint. Paint is like one of his favorite things. He talks about it a lot. Eggshell and all that. And yeah, well, painting yourself into a corner, even if the lines are good, not a good thing to do. I'm a fan of both Gamers Nexus and Linus Tech Tips. And there's one thing that I think as fans, we all need to watch out for. And that is taking sides. Sides that don't exist. Steve didn't post something to be GN versus LTT. It's fans don't have to take sides. What does that gain you other than more arguments on the internet? So this got me thinking that while the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, has rules for things like, talking about disclosure and all that, sponsorship, those kinds of things, I think that what we should do, because one of the best things about LTX was the feeling of community amongst tech content creators. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was so cool. You guys saw the thing where everybody did the Let's Go Nerds at the LGN in front of LTT Studios, Linus Media Group Studios. It was incredible. Let's go, nerds! And they were like, yeah, everybody was just freaking out at how well it went. It was so cool. I feel that as a community of tech content creators, that we should set our own standards together. How would we do that? Well, I feel like we should not just be a community in name, but we should actually form a real community of tech content creators. And from that, have discussions, dialogue. And that dialogue should lead to sort of, I guess, an agreed upon set of guidelines for things like sponsored content, clarifying whether something's a review or a product feature, because something that's sponsored should not be a review, not called one or perceived as a review. There's nothing wrong with paying the bills and getting an income for your job. So having sponsored content is fine as long as it's very clear that it is sponsored content. I have a thing coming up with a chair from FlexiSpot. They didn't pay me anything. They sent me a chair. So I get to say whatever the hell I want about it. That is not sponsored content. If you send me something, there's no guarantee that I'm going to make a video. I'm starting to make that really clear to brands now. There's so much to do. It's like, you send it if you want. I may or may not make a video about it if I have the time. So I feel like as a community, we should come together so that those of us who are newer to it, like me, can benefit from the sort of wisdom gained by those who've been doing this for a really long time. The talks I had with Jay and Paul and some of those guys were incredible. They're just like, they just drop wisdom by accident. It's nuts. And if we come together to do that, not only can we support each other, okay, whenever there's something like Hardware Unbox and NVIDIA did not like how Hardware Unbox focused on rasterized graphics instead of RTX, which doesn't go with their messaging. But that's not a reviewer's job to do a corporation's messaging. Our job is to you guys, consumers, us, and you, and each other, not corporations. Remember that when that happened, Linus Media Group, LTT, pretty much sacrificed all future sponsorship and hardware provided by NVIDIA by supporting Hardware Unboxed. Just because they've made some mistakes and they did one or two bad things, let's not forget some of the good things that LTT did. So if we do, as a community of tech content creators, form some sort of guideline for how to deal with sponsorship, how to deal with things like inconsistencies and errors. We can fact check against each other when it comes to testing, although sometimes keeping that separated is very, very important. We can also just be able to openly tell each other, hey, this happened on your thing. This is my thoughts on that. There you go. So there's a lot of benefits to it. And getting something like that going is pretty awkward. I think it would be kind of cool to do maybe just like an open Zoom call or something. You know what? Maybe I'll do that. I'll do an open Zoom call on, I don't know, this date right here, to where if someone wants to join in on the discussion, just DM me on Twitter ahead of time, or send an email to my business email, which is listed in the About tab. It's just brayathorn@blastlabs.media. Okay. Send me an email there if you want to be part of the discussion and you're a tech content creator. If you guys, viewers, you just want to listen in and see what the discussion's about, it'll be open to listening as well, though you won't be able to speak in the Zoom meeting. You'll be able to just listen. So I think that would be awesome. It's an open invitation. Gamers Nexus, LTT, Jay, Paul, Kyle, who is doing Bitwit stuff again. Dude, it's so cool to see you doing tech content again. Anyway, you know, all of the guys, all of y'all, if you want to be part of the discussion, I think that would be awesome. Just shoot me an email and we'll figure all that out. Now that all that's out of the way, my one thing for Gamers Nexus is just a matter of opinion. Steve was really clear about why he didn't reach out to Linus and how it could have colored the narrative, but I do wish that it had been a matter of, you know, here's the problem, dude. They got each other's phone numbers, probably their WhatsApps, whatever. I don't know. But at any point, they've had dialogues. In fact, a lot of my methods for looking at sponsorship versus product features and reviews and all that stuff comes from the chat that they had when Steve toured their studio. When we compare ideas like this, when we compare our points of view and have discussions, even if they're uncomfortable discussions, in fact, some of those are some of the most helpful ones. This is why I think it's so important to do this. And that's my opinion. In my opinion, I wish you had reached out to say, hey, we're working on this piece and we'd like to get your comment on that. Because that's how you get something much more helpful than a just knee-jerk forum post from Linus. So that would be more helpful to consumers, I think. To get real answers is to give them something that they can think about, consider, maybe run by someone on their team just to say, what do you think? Because Linus has built a team of people who are better than he is at some of these things. I think it may have been beneficial to do that. All you got to do is have your video ready, and if it seems like they're going to spoil the narrative, just publish. Boom. There you go. And it's a little sneaky to do it that way, but it's an option. You know, Steve, so much respect for you, dude. And I guess I know now why I didn't see you at LTX. It made me sad, but I definitely get it now. Okay, how about we talk about some pre-built PCs, yeah?
Okay, let's do this. Get used to seeing me from this angle because streams are back. I need to figure out what days I'm going to do it on. I'm probably not going to do 3 days of streaming just yet. I might ease back into that. But streams are coming back. Follow my Twitter X, whatever, or jump in the Discord for the announcements there. The link for the Discord is in the description below. That's over at twitch.tv/brayathorn. You could always just go follow over there, just so that you get notification. You know, hit that if there's a bell. Is there a bell? There's a bell there. Yes. Hit that so that you get notifications when I go. What we're going to be looking at here are some pre-built PCs, of course. There's already a lot of talking head stuff for this video, so we're just going to get right down to it after the really quick disclaimers where I say this is being filmed for August 22nd, 2023. Any pricing and availability that you see here can change and probably will change if you watch this weeks or months later. Always check the end of the video for a recommendation for the most recent content. The other thing is you're going to hear opinions, and that's just like my opinion, man, and that's okay. Then after that, it's just that this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you buy this, buy that. I'm showing you how to look through these, making some comments on some of the things that I see, and based off of that, you can then make an informed decision, which is a powerful thing to do as a consumer, and you have the power. Okay, first off, we're going to take a look at one that's very familiar to us, and that is, of course, Skytech. And with Skytech here, the thing to do, generally what I recommend doing, unless you're looking to get a custom PC, you want it customized, then you go to Custom PC Builder, look at what these say starting at, and start at the one that's closest to your budget. And then, but it does only go up. So, you know, that's something that's just under your budget and you can adjust it from there. I do have videos going over that, how to do that process, but what we're looking at is their pre-configured PCs. One thing I recommend is to at least sort by price, low to high. So that helps you find stuff that's within your budget. Another way to do that, of course, is to just come here to the slider and say you're looking for something from $1,000 to $1,500. You just move the minimum there, and then your maximum right there. And that'll help put together a set of systems that are within your price range. Now, one that stuck out to me was this Azure 2 for $999. So I have some good and bad things to say about this. First off, Skytech, whoever's in charge of acquisition, stop buying 500 gig NVMe drives. It's not enough. It is not enough for any system. Have you guys downloaded a game lately? They're pretty big. So I would say this needs to be bumped up to a 1 terabyte. So what you got here is a 12400F, still a great gaming processor right there, and a Intel Arc A750. Now the A750 also Arc GPUs, Arc Alchemist GPUs recently got an update that upped their DX11 performance by in certain games by 20%. So that's significant. And even older reviews, like say this one on Tech Radar. So this was published back in May, and you'll see here that in pretty much every application on this list, it beats out both the RTX 3060 and the RX 6600. With that plus DDR4, this is a competent gaming PC right here. Plus it's in the awesome Montech Sky 2 case, which I think is a really good looking case and functionally good as well. So yeah, this is a definitely a good buy. Plus, if you use code SWARM, SWARM, you get an additional discount and you support the channel. And that's awesome. That works for any system on Skytech's website and any product there too. They have monitors, they have all kinds of stuff. So that's probably one of the best $1,000 systems that you can get from Skytech right now. Also, how Tech Radar was comparing the 3060 and the 6600 to the A750. The A750 has AV1 encoding. AV1 encoding is pretty much going to be the future of streaming. You can already stream to YouTube if you want to stream to YouTube with AV1. So that means using less bandwidth, you can get the same quality as H.264. If you're looking at something higher end, don't worry. We're going to have a video probably next week showing systems from every price point. So, here's your sub $1,000 system. Here's your $1,000 to $1,500 systems. Here's systems from $1,500 to $2,000, $2,000, $2,500, and $3,000 and up and all that. So that's probably going to be next week. They have something now called the Eclipse Lite. Let's take a look at this thing. This thing is $1,200 with a 12400F and a 3060 Ti, a 1 terabyte NVMe, and a 16 gigs of DDR4 for $1,200. Not bad. 3060 Ti is 1440p gaming. Now, if you want something that's going to be 40 series, there's the other Eclipse Lite right here with the Ryzen 7 5800X. Remember, that puts you on Ryzen 5000 series. And that is at end of life. They're not really producing anything new for that. So yeah, that's going to be $1,200 as well with a RTX 4060. I would probably take the 3060 Ti 12400F one there because you have the option to go to 13th gen Intel, and 14th gen should be just a refresh of Raptor Lake, meaning that it could potentially fit onto this motherboard. And the 14th gen 12400, I think, is going to be pretty crazy. God, this thing is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. $1,699, 13600K with a 360 millimeter AIO and a Z690 motherboard, 32 gigs of DDR5, and an Arc A770 16 gig edition, 16 gigs of VRAM. It's a banger for sure. So something to consider. Now let's take a look at iBUYPOWER. So let's take a look at iBUYPOWER. We haven't looked at iBUYPOWER in a while, and I want to see what new stuff they have. What I should probably do is videos that are buyer's guides for each of the major system integrators. I've done that before, and basically one of my first videos covering pre-builds was an iBUYPOWER buyer's guide, because I posted a video on how I got an iBUYPOWER PC. It got some views, and I was like, what are those? People are looking at my content. Okay. And iBUYPOWER stuff had brought them there. To this day, iBUYPOWER PC review is one of my top search terms. I do have a tour video where I toured iBUYPOWER. You should definitely check that out because that was awesome. Okay, looking at what they have here, I tend to go sort by price, low to high. Bestseller is whatever. That doesn't apply to you. That applies to them. If you're looking for something under $1,000, I'm not going to necessarily say that you should go with iBUYPOWER here. They do have one good deal, but just beware of this one because Radeon RX 6500 XT sucks. But this right here has the Ryzen 5 5600 and an RX 6600. iBUYPOWER, take this GPU, put it on this PC, And I think you have a winner with that 13100F that will that could outperform the 5600 in some games, and it should actually. Plus, you have the upgradability of being on that 13th gen Intel platform, where it should be able to run 14th gen processors. So I really don't know what they're going to end up doing with that. We'll find out in a couple months. What I was actually looking at here, you do have some good values. Ryzen 5 7600 with an RX 7600. That's not confusing at all, AMD. Thank you for that. There. Okay, so 8 gig by 2. So that does get dual channel memory and a 1 terabyte drive. So this is a budget PC that has, I mean, it's $1129. You might not find that to be budget, but for some people that is budget. So I would say this is a pretty decent one. And of course, a bunch of glass on the front. I have a review of a system that was in a case very like this, very much like this. It was a Trace MR instead of this one. And when I removed the front panel, the GPU got better airflow, better temps. So that's what you can do. You can just remove the front panel. iBUYPOWER, what I would like to know is, where is the Trace mesh? I mean, we're here in August, and you guys showed that at CES in January. It's on sale. You can buy systems from Best Buy with the Trace mesh front panel, but I never see it on your own ready to ship systems. I see some pretty cool cases once you get out of certain price range, but most of these are what we talked about, just glass on the front panel. Now they do have the ECL Pro Plus 3. This is basically their own hardline liquid cooling systems. Let's open this one up because these are really, really neat. What you have is you have a side intake here with the radiator, and it feeds for the CPU and GPU. Now that's a single radiator for 360 millimeter radiator for CPU and GPU. That's not totally ideal, but what you're looking at here is an RTX 3080 and a 13700KF. That's a great combination right there. I probably would have gone 13600K, but still very good. Also, for this price range, $1,800 with DDR4, you could totally have done 32 gigs. This is hard to get to. So if you expect, buyers who are buying pre-built PCs are generally going to be less experienced when it comes to DIY, if they have any experience at all. So, you're putting them in a situation where they're going to have trouble upgrading their system. So it should be, it should be good to go already, basically is what I'm saying. It should have 32 gigs of RAM because that's not easy to swap out. At a price of $1,800, I think that would be good. But I know that this stuff is expensive too. Or any liquid cooling stuff, even proprietary to you guys, is expensive. So, that's a tough one. It's really just, I would say, do stuff like putting in a 2 terabyte and making it 32 gigs of RAM would mean a lot longer before it needs to be upgraded, and that would mean that you could raise the price $100. That covers both of those parts 100%. $1899 instead would be better, and there's no need to upgrade for quite a while then. What I wanted to look at here, because I got a peek at this earlier, right here, look at this beauty. Hello. This is the Ready Fractal Bagoo one. I mean, it's the Fractal North case and a Ready system. So you have a 13700KF, 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 megatransfers per second, 2 terabyte M.2 drive, and an RTX 4070. Probably would have said for this one 13600K and a 4070 Ti at this price at $1999. That's probably what I would have recommended. I will say that this one does have the graphics card shipping uninstalled, and some of these Ready systems will have that. Installing a graphics card is literally one of the easiest things you can do. The PDF instructions are listed right here. But that keeps it from damaging the PCIe bracket or the GPU itself. Okay, I know for a fact that the Fractal North, because I've been kind of drooling over it a bit, supports a 360 millimeter radiator on the front panel. I would have preferred that for a 13700KF. Remember, guys, whenever you're setting up your PC for the first time, do not use these right here for your HDMI or your display port to your monitor. Use these on the GPU, or you're not really taking advantage of that. So I still think $2,000 for a system with a 4070 and a 13700KF is pretty good, but I'd still, guys, 13600K is amazing. Now, Maingear, I recently had a video where I talked about how I didn't like that they were using lower powered power supplies than they should based on NVIDIA's recommendations for what systems should have for those GPUs. And they reached out to me and talked to me. Now, they were supposed to send me a system to take a look at. They've gone a little silent on that. I'll need to check in with them, but I definitely want to check it out. But it looks like they're making some moves, like coming out with a new case, the MG1, right? And that one has the removable faceplates with, better airflow than their previous cases did. And yeah, pretty neat. And what I'd like to see them do is, I know the faceplate was a lot of work to have like the LEDs in there and stuff like that, but what if you had one that had some perforations in it for the really high-end systems that have your 13900K and 4090? I think that might be kind of cool to have. There is something I wanted to check out from Maingear. I saw them on LinkedIn announcing that they have now systems in the Fractal North, as we saw with iBUYPOWER. Let's check it out. So looking at this, you have everything from silver to ultimate. Okay, so this system though, this is their basic one. It's $12.99 as it shows here. Wait, what? Starts at $12.99, but it also starts at $11.99. Eh? Oh, look at that. Up to 3-year warranty is free right now. That's very interesting. RTX 4060, 8 gigs of VRAM in that one, 13400F. Hyper 212 to cool that, should be more than enough. MSI Pro B660M, okay. 16 gigs of DDR4 3600, so not the cheapest DDR4 out there. 1 terabyte, there you go, very nice. Solidigm P41, 600 watt EVGA power supply, and that's all good. Everything's there. RGB lighting kit and rear RGB. Guys, no, don't just throw a strip of LEDs in there. It's not diffused, it's just hotspots. Still a pretty good deal for this price, for sure. So looking at more of these systems though, stepping up, it goes to a 4060 Ti and a 13400F for, you know what? I don't even trust these prices. I don't even trust what those prices say right there. It might be less. $12.99. You guys, could y'all figure that out? So, you know, what we'll do is we'll take a longer look through these. You know, this is just a little too confusing right now. We'll take a longer look through these in a later video, and we'll talk a little bit more about Maingear. I need to reconnect with them and see when they're going to send me a system. Maybe they can send me one of these, but I know that they really like to show off their MG1. It is unique to them, and every one of these PCs just has a strip of hot LEDs right there, and I don't think I would like that. I think I would roast that. Still though, pretty good deals in those, and you know what you can do with those LED strips? You can just pull them out. Well, this was a weird video, but we are getting back into the swing of things. Sorry about that. But yeah, guys, it's great to be back doing this. I don't have any travel plans. I am skipping PAX West this year, unfortunately. But with Intel and AMD pulling out, there's not as much for me to cover there. And I might be going to TwitchCon. I'm trying to. I'm going to be working. I should be working with Motion Studio on something. But watch out for streams coming back really soon. It's happening. It's happening. Streams are coming back, and I can't wait. So, yeah. It's going to be a good time. But that's going to be it for this one. Until the next one, take care.